Hi guys, it's Chapel Day with me, Miss K, and I've got a great lesson for you today. Now I know things are a little bit different since I'm not with you in the gym like I usually am, dancing around and acting all crazy, but I'm here to bring you awesome Bible lessons about awesome people in the Bible, and most importantly, you get to learn some awesome stuff about God, which is really great. So this season, I'm going to have us working on learning about different people in the Bible and how their emotions and their actions have really showed God's love and how much they love God. And so the first person I want to teach you about today is a really special guy, and he's at the very beginning of the Bible, all the way back in the book of Genesis, which is the very first book of the Bible, and his name is Abraham. So Abraham was a really great guy, and he really loved God. And his wife Sarah really loved God too. They always listened to God, and they prayed to God, and they talked to him about any problems and any awesome things that happened to them throughout their lives. But the one thing that Abraham and Sarah never got an answer on is whether they were going to have children. And they really loved kids, and they had all these other kids in their village, but they didn't have any kids of their own, and that made them really sad. So Abraham prayed to God, and you know what God did? He said, I have a story for you. I'm going to make your descendants as many as the stars. And a descendant is a person who's in your family. So that meant that God was going to give Abraham as many family members as there are stars in the sky, which I don't know about you, but I can't count that high. That's a lot of stars to count, and it would take a really long time. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a story about Abraham and how he got to finally have his big family, the family that's more than the number of stars in the sky. So here's the story of Abraham. God loved Abraham so much, and Abraham loved God just as much, and he trusted him too. Abraham and Sarah were very old, and they didn't have any children, which made them really sad. And they were so old that they figured they'd never be able to have children ever, and they both really wanted a big family. So God told Abraham to move to a new city, and Abraham obeyed God. And God promised to rescue the world through his family. So Abraham moved his entire family to the place called Canaan, where they lived for a very, very, very long time. And then finally, on Abraham's 100th birthday, God made them a promise that he was going to give them a baby boy, and they named him Isaac. And God told Abraham that he was going to have as many family members as there were stars in the sky. And Abraham knew that he couldn't count all those, so that must mean that he was going to have a really, really, really big family. That is the story of Abraham and Sarah. That was a great story about Abraham and Sarah. And the one thing that it really taught us, something I want you to remember, is that we need to always be faithful. And the word faithful means that we trust someone. So if I believe in you, if I'm faithful, that means that I trust you no matter what. So just like I'm faithful to God, just like Abraham was faithful to God. So no matter what, I know God's never going to leave me. He always keeps his promises, and everything he does is always to make me happy. So even though it took Abraham and Sarah a really long time, Abraham was 100 years old before he had his first kid. And that's a really long time to wait to get your prayers answered. But Abraham was faithful, and he loved God, and he trusted that God would give him the one thing he's been wanting his whole life. So what I'm going to have you do is decorate these awesome stars, just like God told Abraham that he's going to have more family members than there are stars in the sky. I want us to cover our entire school with stars. Thank you guys so much for being here with me for our first chapel day of the new school year. Now I know it's a little bit different, but I still want you to sing just as loud as you would if you were singing with me. I want you to dance just as crazy as you would dance if you were dancing with me. And most importantly, I want you to have a great time and learn a lot about God. Well, that's all I have for today, and I will see you next time. Bye!